You are Locked On Rams Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Say it with me, folks. Say it with me, folks. Whose house? Rams house, baby. What's going on, Ramley? And welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Rams game right here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Rams podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, hello, everybody. My name's Gavin Carlson, former credential journalist in the LA area, specifically covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin. My Bruins did get a big win today against Gonzaga, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Los Angeles Rams, because somehow, some way, despite, as BC says here, the offense being absolutely disgusting for really the third game in a row, the Rams have done it again. They've won 3 defensive battles in a row. They've won, 9 of their last 11 or something like that, and they are oh so close to, after a 1-4 start, clinching an NFC West crown. We will talk about this win, 13-9 over the Cardinals, a win that really scared me throughout this entire game, and especially in those final moments. Ahkello Witherspoon with the game-clinching interception on what really should have been a touchdown to Trey McBride. We'll get into all of that in a second. But before we do, as always, first and foremost, shout out to everybody in here. A lot of faces, familiar faces. BC, Craig, Willie, seeing all these people in here. Shout out to all of you and everybody else watching live and after the fact. And also, as always, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show. It is Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com and use code LOCKEDONNFL, all lowercase, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. I will say, another new background behind me. If there's some echoes, if there's some weird noises, I'll be completely honest with you all. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it is pouring rain outside. There's thunder. It's a loud one. So if you hear anything behind me, that's why. I'm going to the stinker bowl of all stinker bowls, a game that'll be worse than the game we watched tonight, Saints Raiders tomorrow at the Superdome. That one is probably going to be 10-7, and we basically got 10-7 tonight. Once again, the Rams surviving 13-9 in this one. And obviously, you have to talk about that last drive there and the way this game ended, because despite getting a 4th down interception against Kyler Murray 2 drives prior to the last drive of this game, an interception that you think seals this game. And yes, there's going to be debate about should he have dropped the ball. You know, obviously it would have been nice if Kitchens dropped that interception on a 4th down and the Rams have the ball at the 40 or something instead of at the 10-yard line. Of course. But in hindsight, hindsight's 20/20, but it's really hard to tell a guy whose job every other play is to intercept a pass to go up, defend the pass, and then bat it down. I get it. It would have been nice for him to do that. Would have had the Rams in a much better field position. And yes, BC, you're right. Even if he did intercept it, he shouldn't have slid at the 10. Okay, that's fair. A lot of people are going to say that. But at the same time, you would have much rather had him slide at the 10 than see him try to run it to the 40 and get hit and fumble the ball. Okay, we've seen that all the time, not just the Rams, all sorts of teams. The guy gets an interception, wants to go be the hero, and then he fumbles. So, beggars can't be choosers here. The defense was absolutely great tonight. And it really shows how good this Rams defense is, that one of our only complaints against them in really the last 3 weeks is that they intercepted a pass. I mean, think about that, right? Any other time in the Rams' recent years, it would have been, oh man, the Rams gave up 30 points instead of 22. But no, tonight and throughout the last couple of weeks, it's, they only had X number of sacks in another single-digit defensive performance, and he intercepted the pass instead of swatting it down. But I get it. It would have been nice if he swatted it. Either way, the Rams come out on that last drive of the game for the Rams offense when they can put this game away. And they did what they did throughout this game and what they've done throughout the last 3 games. And we'll talk about the Rams offense a lot more in the second segment, but 3 and out with an incomplete pass on that 3rd down there. And Rich Eisen on the broadcast with Kurt Warner was saying, the clock is running down. It's about to hit the 2-minute warning. Here's a nice opportunity for the Rams to actually get to throw the ball on a 3rd down instead of just running it. And I totally agreed with that, but they didn't time it well with the play clock and the game clock. They snapped it too early. The throw was also instantly thrown by Stafford and not even close to Puka Nacua. Clock stops. They punt it all the way down, and the Cardinals end up getting the ball before the 2-minute warning even hit. So an absolute disaster with a team that we've gotten used to being a great team at icing out games, running the football to Kyren Williams, putting games away, having big, long, slow drives themselves. And yet tonight, just like last week against the Jets, just like that game a couple weeks ago against the Saints, the Rams get dominated in terms of time of possession. And in a moment when you need the Rams to hold the clock or hold the ball and run the clock, 3 and out with an incomplete pass, inexcusable, quite frankly. And then the Cardinals march all the way down and get all the way to the 5-yard line, really looking like they're about to win this game and play spoiler to the Rams. I know it's not a must-win game for the NFC West title. We'll get into all of the clinching scenarios in the third segment, but the fact that there really wasn't much difficulty there in terms of the Cardinals just marching down the field on that final drive prior to the interception for a Rams defense that was so good this entire game. I think it was 5 sacks on Kyler Murray, maybe 4, but all over Kyler Murray all night. A guy who is really hard to stop and keep in the pocket. We know how quick he is. We know how elusive he is. Got to treat him like a Lamar. Got to treat him like a Josh Allen. And yet, honestly, the Cardinals' big plays only came from when Kyler Murray escaped. And I still think I am satisfied with how the Rams did in terms of containing him. I mean, what a game again from Kobe Turner. We saw Braden Fisk getting in there. We saw the whole defense having a great game. And obviously, anytime you have multiple sacks plus 2 interceptions and keep a team that can score points to 9 points, it is absolutely a successful night for the Rams defense once again. But despite all that, all the great defense that we saw tonight, it all would have meant nothing if the Cardinals do march down and score a touchdown. And so thank goodness that Kyler Murray got really excited. They got Trey McBride his first touchdown of the season. Kyler got really excited to get him his second, threw the ball a little bit too early. Trey McBride doesn't turn his head, hits his helmet, pops up in the air, and what an interception for Ahkello Witherspoon. A great catch. I honestly, on the first, the live watch of it, I thought it was an incomplete pass. I'm like, oh, wow, how nice that would have been. But no. He had it, and he seals the win for the Rams. Even then, the ball's at the 1 instead of the 20, and Stafford has to sneak it 3 times instead of taking knees. It's always scary with this Rams team. And you have to start talking about this Rams win streak a little bit like the Chiefs this season in terms of a lot of close single-digit wins, a lot of games where you're not really looking that impressive, but still getting What's going on, Ramley? Can you hear me out here? I need someone to help me out here and hit me with a comment. Let me know you can hear me. We just lost power here in New Orleans, so it's not the first time we've had some Funny business happening. Okay, BC says we can hear me. Well, there we go. We just lost power in New Orleans in a little thunderstorm here, but Craig says we're back. All right, we're back. We're back, boys. Well, like I was saying before we lost it here, thank goodness Trey McBride didn't turn his head fast enough. Kyler Murray throws a little bit too quickly off his helmet, and we're able to seal the interception. BC's got volume emojis here. Does that mean I'm not loud enough? Can everyone hear me? I know this is an interesting one here. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up that we're all good. BC's worrying me here with the emojis. We'll see if we get some power. Okay, loud enough. Okay, good. We'll see if we can get some power here in New Orleans. Of course, leave it to me to have to deal with a power outage in an Airbnb, but BC says we're loud enough, so we can continue. Moral of the story is, thank goodness the Rams survived this game the same way I'm trying to survive this first segment. I don't know how in the world they did survive this game. I mean, it looked the Cardinals were just yards away from destroying the hopes of clinching this weekend for the Rams. It was not a must-win game. There is certainly a scenario where the Rams can lose today or could have lost today and still won the division. You just have to win next week against Seattle. But there is an opportunity to clinch today because Ahkello Witherspoon does intercept that pass. I'm making sure we're good. Everyone says we are good to go. So it's a good time now to end this first segment. Moral of the story is, what a crazy game late. Real lack of execution from the Rams offense. Not once, but twice late in this game. We'll talk about the red zone struggles. They should have put this to 17-9 instead of 13-9. And then they should have gotten a first down on a 3rd and 3, or at least manage the clock better. Instead, they really give the Cardinals a great chance to march down the field and steal this one from our Rams. But thanks to some great defense there late, a little bit of luck, let's be honest, a little bit of luck, but a great play by Ahkello Witherspoon, the Rams survive. All right, we're going to take our first break here. We're going to read these ads. I think I have to read them off of memory. I don't even have them in front of me because I lost power, but we're doing our best here in a power outage in New Orleans, Locked On Rams Postcast. I'll be right back, and when I come back, we'll talk about that Rams offense because boy, oh boy, do we need to. Now, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you don't know what Prize Picks is at this point, like, come on now. If you like the NFL, if you like the NBA, if you like really any sport, I think they have more than sports at this point. They got esports, really anything you can think of. If you like sports, you got to try out Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app, and it's so easy. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 5 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. For example, in this game, if you had, Kobe Turner over half a sack, if you had Puka Nacua over 80 yards or whatever the line was, more or less, that's all you have to do. And right now, if you download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL, you'll win $50 instantly when you play $5. It makes watching NFL games, NBA games, everything so much more entertaining. So once again, download the Prize Picks app, use code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Back here live on a crazy power outage edition of the Locked On Rams Postcast. Once again, I am Gavin Carlson, coming at you live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, but I'm not in LA like normal. On a family trip in New Orleans, and we just lost power. It's a thunderstorm. Leave it to the south, but we could churn along here on the show, and it's time to talk about the offense because what a concerning offensive performance it was for our Rams. Only 12 first downs. You go 6 of 15 on 3rd down, which isn't amazing, isn't terrible, but the main concern is a couple 3-and-outs. Once again, we've seen this in many games this season where 3-and-outs just lead you to being dominated on the time of possession stat, and that was the biggest difference in this game. The Cardinals had the ball for 37 minutes to just 23 for the Rams, and we're so used to the Rams having these long, methodical, short play, long amount of plays drives that didn't make any sense. But you know what I mean. Short plays, many plays on a drive, takes a while to get down into the red zone. And ironically, it was still the case for the Rams. Not many big plays, if any, right? Even in the last week, there was the occasional big run from Kyren Williams, but really outside of a Puka Nacua quick screen that he took for 20 yards, there really wasn't much explosiveness at all from this Rams offense. And I get it. You have a great run game. You have a shaky pass blocking offensive line. So you're going to rely on the run and short passes. You've got great short yardage receivers in Cooper Kupp, in Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford, a very accurate quarterback. But, we haven't seen that occasional big play to Tutu Atwell, right? That occasional big play to Demarcus Robinson, that occasional big play to Puka Nacua. In addition to a 15-yard Cooper Kupp reception. We haven't seen any of that in the last couple of weeks. And the Niners game, you get a pass there. It was horrible conditions, kind of like the ones I'm dealing with right now outside, the reason I'm sitting in the pitch black all of a sudden. But that you get a pass for that. The Jets game, not really. It was concerning. This one, very concerning. Cardinals defense that isn't good at all. A Rams offense at home with everything to play for, the opportunity to really make it likely you're going to clinch the NFC West. And instead, you really lay an egg this entire game. I mean, obviously, it wasn't until that first Rams touchdown drive that they even showed life, right? There wasn't driving down the field. Even in earlier games, drive down the field, go for on the fourth down, don't get it. Or drive down the field, miss a field goal. Or even drive down the field, throw a pick in the end zone, Matthew Stafford against the Lions, something like that. But instead, a game like tonight, just like in weeks past, it's just absolutely nothing. The play calling, not great. The execution, even worse. And like Kurt Warner said it at one point in this game, and I thought it was a very good point. The biggest issue, and a lot of people think the biggest issue with not having the big play is that, offenses can't be sustainable if they can't occasionally get a big play because it's just hard to consistently get 7 yards. It's not hard to consistently get 7 yards. It's hard to consistently get 7 yards without having one single back-breaking penalty, not even incompletion, not even a run for 2 instead of 6. You can do everything right and have one hold like we did on one drive. And instead of it being 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, which the Rams seem to always be getting 4 with Kyren, getting 3 on 2nd and 7, having a 3rd and short and trying to convert, especially in the red zone. But you have one hold, you have one false start, you have one penalty, and it's 1st and 20. And not only do you not have the big play capability to get that back in one play, but you also don't even have the capability, because you've been having all these short plays to even get 12 yards, get 16 yards. It's all 4 yards and 7 yards. And you're not in the red zone when you have the penalty. You're at the 50-yard line when you have the penalty because you haven't had any big plays. So we know that lack of big plays is a concern for the Rams, especially because the defense has been holding it down. And so you don't need to have these big, long 12-play 8-minute drives, honestly. The Rams defense has been doing a good job of getting teams off the field. So if you could just get them 7 points, that's good enough. You don't have to worry about keeping them off the field. That was the concern early in the season. Rams offense needs to run the ball, run slow, keep that bad defense off the field. But the Rams don't have a bad defense. They have an elite defense at this point. And now it's about getting that darn defense off the field and helping the Rams offense out. So, it's a concern. The lack of big plays, the red zone efficiency or lack thereof, extremely concerning. It feels like every time it's 1st and goal at the 8, the plan is run the ball twice, see if Kyren can just plow his way in. And if he can't, hopefully it's 3rd and goal from the 2. We can run some little pick play, run some play action, have a 2-yard pass to Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. If it's 3rd and 8, run the quick screen to Puka and see if it can hit. But really outside of that, it doesn't feel like the Rams just have a go-to 11-yard play, 14-yard play, even a go-to 7-yard play outside of the Puka Nacua quick screen. And that's a concern. Because in years past, it felt like if the Rams were inside the 10, you could bet your bottom dollar that Cooper Kupp is getting open in the end zone for a touchdown. Or you can bet that Puka Nacua is going to make a difficult catch or a difficult run after the catch, in addition to Kyren Williams punching it in addition to the play action pass being there. But right now, it feels like it's really run. And if you don't get in on 1st and 2nd down, in the goal-to-goal situation, hopefully hit a play action for a touchdown. That's a little bit concerning, in my opinion. So want to see more from the Rams in the red zone for sure. What do we need to do to change things? Well, believe it or not, I'm not blaming it on the offensive line anymore. I think it just comes down to Matthew Stafford and play calling. period. We know Puka's going to get it done. We know Cooper Kupp's going to get it done. I know BC here says that he only has 4 catches in his last 3 games. I don't think that's his fault. I think that's come down to play calling and Matthew Stafford, quite honestly, because people are going to forget on that touchdown drive, there was 2 different throws that should have easily been intercepted by the Cardinals. I believe Budda Baker dropped one, or maybe it was the backup safety, but like 2 easy interceptions by the Cardinals that were not had. And Matthew Stafford really had 3 to 4 risky passes in this one. So I think Stafford genuinely needs to step it up a bit. We know how much he had to overcome earlier in the season with the lack of pass blocking the entire first half of the season, with the lack of playmakers with Cooper Kupp out, with Puka Nacua out. But they're back. Kyron's cooking. The offensive line is better. There's really no excuses at this point. And so when we come back from the last break, I'm going to answer the question here of, earlier in this stretch, when there were these low-scoring games, I was saying I'd rather have these low-scoring games because it means, hey, we know the Rams can win a shootout. They just did it against Josh Allen 3 weeks ago. They almost did it against the Lions. We know how good this offense can be when healthy. The question mark is the defense. Well, now we have 3 weeks in a row where the defense has held the opposing team to less than 10 points. And the question is, do we need to stop giving the Rams offense the benefit of the doubt and say they actually need to show us something that they haven't shown us the last 3 weeks to still believe this is an elite offense? And so we'll talk about that after our last break here. Thanks for sticking with me throughout the technical difficulties here on the Locked On Rams Postcast. I'll be right back. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get the hunch in the middle of a game, you can have the live stats in front of you and place bets directly on the app, on the website with FanDuel. Now, new customers can also place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, all you have to do is make a $5 bet. And if you hit it, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. So visit FanDuel.com and use America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. I sure do, and you should as well. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get cooking. Back here live one more time on the Locked On Rams Postcast. We fought some technical difficulties. Shout out to the 30-plus people who stuck in here despite those. And once again, the Rams win 13-9 here at SoFi Stadium in a thrilling, scary game, all thanks to an Ahkello Witherspoon touchdown taken away, a Trey McBride touchdown taken away by a little bit of luck, and then Ahkello Witherspoon diving interception. As Craig points out, that missed extra point by the Cardinals was huge. Obviously, yes, it was, because there was one point where they were down 13 obviously, they lose 13-9. If it was 13-10, they would have only needed a field goal on that last drive instead of a touchdown, force them to go for it on 4th down the drive before as well. So huge missed extra point. Really, the Rams got lucky in a lot of ways in this game. It really feels like the Cardinals probably should have won this game. 24 first downs to 12. Cardinals have the advantage there. They outgained the Rams 396 to 257. They ran 20 more plays than them. They had almost 100 more yards through the air. They had almost 50 more yards on the ground. And once again, they had the ball for almost 14 minutes more than the Rams. But thanks to 2 turnovers by the Cardinals, none by the Rams, one of those turnovers coming in the end zone, obviously, on the last play of the game, basically, and the other interception coming in the end zone, basically, as well. Obviously, the Cardinals left a lot of points on the board, and they missed an extra point. The defense, once again, one more time, deserves a lot of credit. You have the 2 interceptions, of course, but in Kyler Murray's face throughout this game, Kobe Turner with the sack, Braden Fisk had a great game, like I was saying earlier. The defense deserves its credit. And so the question we were asking before the break was, do we need to stop giving this Rams offense the benefit of the doubt? Because if the Rams defense keeps playing like this, they can beat anybody. But at the same time, who's in the NFC. You've got powerhouse offenses in the Lions, in the Packers. Really, to this point, you might have to say it about the Vikings as well. All 3 of those NFC North teams have great offenses. Now, are you really that worried about the Bucs or the Falcons? No. Are you really that worried about, even in this NFC West race next week, Seattle, in terms of offense exploding for a huge game, not really. But those three elite teams in the NFC North, and of course the Eagles and really the Commanders as well in the NFC East, those are teams that I can see the Rams defense holding them to 17 points in a tight playoff game, but I can't see them holding them to 9 like they've done back-to-back weeks with the Cardinals and the Jets, holding the Niners the week before that to 6. You're not doing that to any of those 5 elite teams in the NFC. So the Rams offense needs to show us something next week against Seattle. And obviously there is a scenario, and we'll talk about it right now, where next week doesn't even matter. And that is if the Rams get 3 results to go their way out of 5. And I have them, ironically, I have them written down for me on my phone, but I'm now doing this show from my phone because I don't have Wi-Fi and power in this Airbnb here in New Orleans. But what I will say, what I remember is you need the Browns to beat the Dolphins, who aren't going to have Tua. You've got the Niners upsetting the Lions. You've got, I'm trying to remember the other games. You already got the Bengals win, so that was huge. I'm blanking on the other ones. I think you need the Bills to win this week. So I'm honestly blanking on the rest of them. If I had power, I could pull it up in front of me. But the moral of the story is, if you're a Rams fan, you know what needs to happen. We need 3 more wins here for next week to not matter. What I would like to see is for next week to not matter, so we can rest our key players and just get ready for the NFC playoffs. Of course, we want to clinch any way possible. But if we don't get the results we need, and we theoretically need to beat the Seattle Seahawks next week, I better see one thing. And it's not the defense doing what it's done. At this point, I'm confident the defense can be solid. At this point, the script is completely flipped, and I need evidence from our offense that they can score 20 points in a playoff game against the Eagles, against the Lions or the Vikings or the Packers, right? I need evidence our offense can do that, because at this point, you can't be sure of it. You had one explosion against the Bills, but other than that, it's not like the Rams were putting up 30 points every game when they were losing, right? It was, you had a loss against Miami where you only put up 15 at home. You scored 28 in New England, great. You only scored 20 at home against Philly. You only scored 21 in a win against New Orleans, 19, 18, 10, 20 in those 4 losses in the first 5 weeks. So we don't have evidence really outside of that Bills insane win and a couple other games where you put up around 30. There isn't much evidence that this offense can explode. And so at this point, I don't have a ton of faith we're ever going to see a game like that Bills game ever again, where the Rams have the potential to put up 40. That's starting to prove to be more of Bills defense bad than Rams offense elite. But thank goodness our defense has more than held their own. And so we don't need to score 31 points to win playoff games. I can easily see the Rams at home in the first round of the playoffs against the Commanders or something, win a game 21-17, right? I can easily see that happening against the Vikings, winning 21-17, something like that, 24-20. But I don't see us winning 35-28. And no, despite what we've seen the last couple of weeks, I don't see us winning games 14-10 in the playoffs against real NFC teams. I'm sorry, I don't. So we need to see the Rams offense. If they have to play next week, show us something. If they don't have to play next week, hey, take it off, rest, give McVay extra time to plan for that NFC opponent in the playoffs, and boy, oh boy, pop the champagne and celebrate the NFC West title. We don't have it yet. Watch the games closely. Like I said, I wish I remembered all of them, but hey, Browns beating the Dolphins without Tua, I know that's one of them. Niners upsetting the Lions, I know that's one of them. I'm remembering now. Vikings, if they beat the Packers, that's one of them as well. I believe the Bills was one of them too. So whatever those 5 games were, we need 3 of them to go our way in order to clinch. It's actually 2.5. We can have 2 wins and a tie. So we'll see if that happens. If not, either way, I'll be here next week for Rams versus Seattle. Hopefully by then we're already NFC West champs. If not, I'll be watching that game closely. And either way, I will be here live on Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel after the fact to break it all down. And hopefully, with some power, with some light, with some Wi-Fi, with an actual camera, with an actual mic. It's so ironic. And we see here Craig asking, are you on vacation? And BC saying, still working on vacation. That's how the last couple of generations are. Yes, I'm on vacation. If anyone missed it at the beginning of the show, and I don't blame you, it's been a crazy show. I'm in New Orleans. My family, my distant relatives, my grandparents and all that. They're originally from New Orleans. I grew up a Saints fan. I got family here in New Orleans. So we're here for the holiday. We left yesterday, just got in town here in the Big Easy, going to Saints Raiders tomorrow. And ironically, I bring the mic. I pack it on the suitcase in my carry-on, big microphone. I literally got stopped by TSA and they were going through it. They're like, what is this? I'm like, it's a microphone for my show. But ironically, I bring it all, the camera, the mic, the headphones, everything, all for me to lose power 7 minutes into the show and not be able to use any of it. So maybe next time I'll just stick with just a cell phone and not deal with any of it. We'll see. But more of the story is I'll be back in Culver City, Los Angeles, California next week for Rams, Seahawks. Was thinking about even going to the game. But either way, I'll be live after the fact, as always. Shout out to BC, shout out to Craig, shout out to everybody else in here for sticking with me, even though we temporarily lost power, lost connection on the stream here. Glad we were able to finish this one off. And boy, oh boy, above all else, glad our Rams were able to finish it off. 13-9 the final at SoFi Stadium. The Rams are just a couple things away from being NFC West champs, despite a 1-4 start. I'm going to wrap this one up. Once again, I'm Gavin Carlson. You can follow me on Twitter, X, all that good stuff. And I'll be here live next week for Rams Seahawks, where one way or another, the Rams will be NFC champions at that point. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, one more time, as always, whose house? Rams house, baby. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next week. Go Rams.